the students were really underweight. That was last year. And we are going to consequently weigh the students. Right now we designed a cohort that we would follow up each month so that we have concrete results to see the changes that are okay. What we have noted so far has been an increase in the number of students. We started with 9,366. Right now we have 13,453 students. And last year when we ended, we had 11,656 students.
Hope Channel, changing lives.
Hello, good evening. It's a beautiful Tuesday, and I am glad to come to your homes again. The program is Love at Home. Yes, it is Love at Home because this program seeks to always improve families and bring happiness, joy, and most importantly, love into your lives. Today is a beautiful day, and if you could remember, last 2 weeks we discussed beginning well. Yes, last week we looked at a new year or a new you. It was so interesting. And today too, we are looking at another interesting topic. I am your usual host, Efia Sewa Mansa. And let me specifically invite you and try to remind your friends that it is time. Love at Home has come. Please join us on Facebook. You can join us on YouTube and also contribute through 0559 680066. Thank you very much. It is Love at Home. Today, I have fine gentlemen, strong men with me. And the program and the topic is so interesting. It is planning and setting objectives. Some are of the view that it is only corporate institutions that should set objectives. Do you agree to that? I hope it is important that you join us to know why it is important to plan and also set objectives in your life and in the family. With this much ado, let me invite you to my special guest. On my far left, I have a fine gentleman. I call him my father, Pastor Neil Lamte Thompson, the Ministerial Secretary and the Family Director for Southern Ghana Union of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Pastor, Afi. Oh, wow. Please, I won't go far. So happy New Year once again. And we thank God for ushering us into this new year. I hope your family is doing well.
By God's grace.
We thank God. I have another special guest on Zoom. He's our friend on Love at Home, and you know him already. Professor William Pepra at the Andrews University. He's at the business unit. Prof, good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
This afternoon at the end here, I'm fine.
Oh, can you
I hope
imagine?
you're also doing well.
Yes, God is so wonderful. When it is evening, it is afternoon somewhere.
Yes.
Yes, it's true. And I hope the weather is treating you well.
Well, we today is under -1. We have snow, so we are managing.
Continue. But it's all telling us how wonderful our Savior is, right?
Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much. So let me say you are welcome. Try to call in your friends that it is time. We are discussing planning and setting objectives for yourself and the family in this new year. Now, let me come to you, Pastor. What do we mean to say we are planning?
Well, planning in a layman's words could be said to be looking ahead. As you look ahead, you need to be certain or have a direction as to where you're going. From here, where next?
Okay.
And that brings in how to get to the place.
Okay.
And so when you start looking, for instance, as we are in a new year, we ask ourselves, first individually, and then perhaps as a family, where next? From here, where next? What can we do, or what can we achieve? And that then leads you on to another step or direction in your growth or development.
Oh, that is wonderful. So looking ahead or trying to see what's next. Then, Prof, should it be documented? Should we write it? If we have it in our minds, is it enough, or we should write and make sure we measure it? How should we go about it?
As an individual or a family, you want to ask yourself, where are you going? When do you want to go? How do you want to go? What do you want to do? Probably who do you want to go and see? Sometimes some people don't write their plans down. They keep it in their mind, and others do write. So there are some plans that are done in the informal setting where people keep it in their minds, and others that normally write. The advantage of writing down your plan is that you are able to measure and remember and see what you have achieved within time. As human beings, we all have expectations. We all have a purpose in life which we want to focus on. And for us to be able to know that we are achieving the family purpose or our individual purpose, mostly it is recommended that we write our plans down, and it has to be specific, detailed, and probably not general plans. I give an example. An individual, you may have to have your own plan. How many times would you want to pray in a day? It can be your plan or your future direction for 2023. How many times do you want to have a family prayer? It can be written down. So there are some families, when you go to their homes, they are written down. I'll give a typical example. The women does it better. Mostly you will go and they have their menu for the week. Sometimes they will put it, they will put it, maybe if there's a table or somewhere,
yeah.
They will paste it maybe beside the fridge or something. All these, doing this action is that you are planning for the future or for the week. In the same vein, it is always recommended that as you want to be able to measure your plan, you write it down. It is not wrong if probably you have your plan in your head, but the difficulty is that sometimes you may forget, and also you may not be able to monitor what you have purpose in your mind or heart,
to do.
So it is very, very important. As you plan, you may have it in your head, but it is much better if the plan is well written down.
In that case, what is the difference between planning and objective? What is objective?
Okay. So your plan is the general process,
Okay.
focusing on now how you want to do it and where you want to go. Your plan is in a time span, continuum, but your objective is the specific goal you want to achieve. Example, in 2023, I want to be able to go to church all the 52 weeks. That becomes a specific objective. So in setting your objective, you have a way that you can measure that objective. In setting your objective, you are able to also make it specific within a time frame. But planning alone is the general process that one goes through. So that is it. So your objective, let me put it simply, is the goal or what you want to achieve in a particular period. It can be a week, it can be a month, it can be a year, or it can be maybe within 10 years. Okay. So objectives are mostly specific. So families are encouraged, as they plan, they must also set specific objectives, something that they can measure and see.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me come to you, Pastor. Is it really important for us to plan and set these objectives? Aren't we worrying ourselves?
No, it's very important.
Really?
Very important.
Okay.
Because you can't just leave and allow the day just to take you through without any preparation for the years ahead. For instance, if I'm a bachelor, I need to plan in order to enter into marriage. Okay. I can't just wake up one morning that I'm going to marry. And therefore, I need to plan to enter into marriage. Yeah. In the same way, when I marry, I need to plan to get the children and how plan for their education, plan for. So it is looking ahead and putting in place steps that will make the future successful.
Wow. My dear viewer, let's go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we continue the discussion. We have just started. Please remember to call in your friends. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Soul Street Acapella presents Sing, a Thanksgiving concert in appreciation of God's mercy and fine grace, featuring Ephody, The Statesman, Sons of God, Alabaster Box, and the legendary Paulina Ojo. Date 28th January 2023. Time 3 p.m. Venue Legon SDA Church, Accra. Don't miss this. Come, let's sing.
Hello, my cherished viewers. You are welcome to the program Soldier of the Cross. God is always faithful, and therefore be faithful even when you feel like God is not faithful. We are beginning a new series which we have captured Hear, O ye child of the Lord. And all these sermons will get you connected to God. There's going to be a broadening of your knowledge, a deepening knowledge about God. And in the end, you are going to be a blessing generator. A blessing generator to yourself and to others. I'll rather challenge you that choose faith over worry. Until then, until I come your way, until we meet on that day, stay blessed and be blessed. God richly bless you. Ahua.
Soldier of the Cross, showing this and every Sunday at 7:30 p.m.
Hello. Thank you very much for staying tuned. You are welcome. The program is Love at Home, and we are discussing planning and setting objectives for yourself and for the family. And we've been having this discussion with Pastor Neil Lamte Thompson and Professor Pepra at the Andrews University. You are welcome. Thank you very much. So before we left, we were discussing how important it is to plan as individuals and as family members. Now, Pastor, you want to know what are some specific things we should consider when we want to plan for families?
I'd like to say that planning is not something new or something strange. Perhaps we've been doing it, but we've not even recognized it. Mm-hmm. For instance, as a mother in the home, when you wake up, you think, what am I going to give to my family today? And you make some mental calculations as to, okay, with this money, I can go to the market and get this and this and prepare this and this. It is planning. And that is what we talk about. But in one's life, we need to have a short-term, a middle-term, and a long-term plan. It should be something that should be continuous in our lives. That every time, each day, each week, each month, each year, there must be something you working towards in order to be able to meet the needs of the family and meet your individual needs as well. So in doing this, we just saying that, for instance, as we've begun the year, we need to sit as a family, look at our performance, look at where we fall short, look at areas that we need to improve. We do that when we do that assessment, then tell ourselves, okay, we will want to, hopefully by the end of the year, achieve this or that. And when you make that, you set that objective, then you now work as to how can we achieve the goals, objectives that we have set for ourselves. Okay. And so this is just trying to put our activities in an organized manner okay. to make things work smoothly and effectively for the entire family.
That's good. Prof, what about you? Are there any elements we should consider or we should look out for before we can plan?
It must be systematic.
Okay.
It must follow a pattern. One of the systematic way to ensure that the love is at home is when we have financial status world planned.
That is very important.
There is the evidence that love is not in most of our houses because of the issue of financial challenges.
Okay.
That challenge in the finance can be disclosure. That challenge can be the lack of the funds. That challenge can be how the funds are allocated or shared or used within the family. Mm-hmm. That challenge of finance can be how we commit to God in terms of tithe and offering. Okay. All these issues are needed to be discussed at home. So as we begin the year, we know that in Ghana, we are now in a very distressed time where finance or getting money to live on has become a big issue. It's time that families sit together to really have a strategy on how to spend their money, what to spend the money on, where to put the money in terms of investment, because now we know the issues. And we may have to make this in a formal setting or an informal setting of discussion. We have to let our partners probably know how much we earn so that we can live within our means. Financial planning every year is critical. Let me put it this way. Every day it is important to have financial plan, because you can only spend based on what you have in your pocket. If you decide to borrow and live on someone's money, you will be in a lot of distress, but probably when you cannot pay. When you get to a point where you cannot pay your money, there will be no love at home. The father or mother will not be able to sleep. It will affect communication. It will affect the way we worship God. So financial planning is very, very, very important in the family. That every year, if not anything, or let me put it up, aside spiritual planning, the next line item should be your financial plan, because that is what we live on. So financial planning is very, very important for the family and also for the individual.
Okay.
An example, now that there are financial challenges in Ghana, would you as a family consider how you spend, where you go in terms of your funds? Who do you give your money to? You need to have a plan for that. The women, also the mothers, now you have to be spending a lot of time to make a choice on what food to cook, where to get what food stuff. All these things must be part of your plan, and they become like a daily thing, but you can have a special plan for the week, for the month, based on the income levels within the family. So financial planning is very, very, very important, that it must be considered every day of our life.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, Pastor, when we decide to go this way, or to say that this is the plan, should we stick by that, or we can review it?
Okay. In the first place, there must be some level of discipline.
Okay.
And that should help us to try as much as possible to stick by that. But we must also accept that sometimes you have a plan and all of a sudden you see that there are changes either on the national or international or other areas that will affect your plan. Yeah. In that case, there is the need to review the plan. Besides that, there must be also some, for instance, if you have a yearly plan, it is appropriate quarterly to review your plan and find out how far you're working at your plan. You know, because sometimes you see that maybe you are at the pace you started with gradually will be reducing. And therefore, when you are able to review, you can then pick up again.
Wow. So, Pastor, if I understand you clearly, you are saying that, for example, if a father or a husband decides to give what we call in Ghana chop money to a wife, the wife should say that, can say that review or don't review, or because you agreed to give me, for example, 100 Ghana cedis every day, now things are not working, so I'm giving you 50 Ghana or 80 Ghana, it can be done.
Yeah, you see, for instance, you are my wife, and we have decided that this is the income I receive. This is how we can distribute the income. So this should go into our feeding. And so to make the feeding very effective, let's make sure that we don't use more than 100 cedis a day.
Yeah.
Now, we've all agreed upon that. Then comes fuel prices going up, affecting everybody, affecting the market. We need to take a look at that. Oh, Mido, this is what we agreed upon.
I love that. What did you say?
Mido.
Thank you. Pastor, please continue.
This is what we agreed upon.
Yeah.
But based on this, when you go to the market, now the 100 cedis is not able to meet the needs of the family. So what can we do? How can we, perhaps maybe there are certain things we need to take away from our diet. You see, then that's it may not necessarily mean that the review should call for increment
or downward.
That's right. Because perhaps the income is
Static.
Static. Therefore, when we're talking of increasing, it may not
It's
be
not possible.
possible.
Yeah.
Then we need to ask ourselves, oh, can we reduce the meat or this or this? Can we
rather bring in more plant
exactly
protein instead of animal protein or something?
So as to meet our
Pastor, I
basic
ask
needs.
this because we hear a lot. You hear so many women saying, my husband is wicked. In spite of all these economic issues, see, he's still giving me the same amount. Then the men are also saying, like you are saying, no, we've not been, our salaries have not been increased. Where is my wife expecting me to get that money from? And there is chaos at home. Please advise us.
I think this is where there is break in communication, perhaps in the family. Because this is a reality. We all know that things have changed. And therefore, let us sit down and take a look at this is what we have set for ourselves. And this is why planning makes it a very effective and conducive for the family. If we don't have a plan, then we don't even have a basis. But if we have all agreed on a plan, we say, this is what we have set. But these are the conditions that have now affected the plan that we have proposed. Therefore, there must be the need for us to review and make some few adjustments so that we can still meet the needs of the family.
This is lovely. Thank you very much. Now, Prof, would you want to add something to what Pastor said?
So, as Pastor said, we human beings, we plan, but what happens in the future is in the hands of God.
Very true.
So, as a family, when we do our plan, we have to commit it into the hands of God. Situations will change, as we have seen in Ghana. Every 2 weeks, we see the fuel price going up. Probably this is requiring that a lot of communication happen within the home. We have noticed that as Pastor mentioned, our income levels are still the same and our purchasing power has reduced. This really, really requires that we modify our plans. You may also note that, as Pastor mentioned, a review is important. If you have an educational plan and the economic situation is changing, you may want to reconsider your educational plan. Is this something that will help you not to put too much stress on you and the family so that probably your life become miserable? So for the love to be at home, it requires that a special plan that has a shock absorbers are put in place. So you just don't leave your plan and say you are strictly going to follow it. Make room for adjustment in any plan that you make. Anything can happen. Situations may change, disaster may come, so it may require you to adjust your plan. Let me also mention that in our planning, especially on the spiritual planning, we may have our objectives set for the year, but sometimes in times of difficulty like we find ourselves in Ghana now, that is when we need the Savior the more. I remember in my youth camp days, they mentioned in times like this, we need a Savior.
We need a Savior.
So possibly, this is the time that we need a Savior to guide our finances. The truth is that now in most of the homes in Ghana, whatever we call take home in terms of salary cannot take us home. So families are really challenged. That is why it is important to have an objective, and then we live within our means that will help our individual lives. Maybe currently our plan should focus on basic needs for now to find a sustainable living, and then we hope that things become better in the future.
Yeah, that is very important. I was going to ask about scale of preference. Which things should we prioritize now?
I mean, so in your planning, your spiritual plan, to me, should be number one. Then you are faithful in returning your tithe and offering, because you don't know how the blessings will come. Then you focus on your financial plan. Your financial plan will help you to tie in how you are going to relate or spend your money, how you are going to allocate your money. We may have love at home, but it must be somehow quantified. So some people in academia say that we can measure love if we attach money to it. We know the normal life. You say that where the money is, where there is love, but we have been told in our faith that money is not what you lead love. So ethical distinction should be made in the home between what brings love at home and not money. It must be a strategy. If not, we will see a lot of families fighting or a lot of families breaking up, all because of the contention between what brings love, whether it is money or something else. So that thing must be well mentioned. I'm combining love and funds or money together because though we are in hard times, sometimes it's also advisable to also go out with your family to have a little bit of fun, to spark some light in the home. It will also help if you put some money somewhere, you do some savings and say that maybe every 6 months we will do a family outing or something, so that the candle will still be there, the love will be in the house. So all these things are how you prioritize your spending. Also, you may have to prioritize your health. It's an important thing in your planning. How many times do you want to go and do checkup of your health? We should not wait till we feel sick before we go and do the checkups. This is very, very important. This is something that we don't do often in Ghana, but it is advisable that we do the checkups, even if with vehicles.
Yeah.
We are giving dates to go and do servicing. How much more our human body?
Human beings.
So, human beings. So the priorities should also include the medical checkups. It may not be a full checkup, but the basic BP checkup, blood, how do you call it, pressure, simple diabetes, those basic ones, so that it can help you to know that, well, our family, we are a little bit okay. We don't expect any major illness coming in the course of the year. So there's something that we may have to consider very well. If your family, you work in an organization that provides that service, it's advisable to take that opportunity to go for the regular checkup. And lastly, we should have a plan, for me, in my opinion, how you exercise. The family should have a plan for exercising. If you have good health, you save money. So exercising should be one of the priorities for 2023. How often do we exercise? Can we take a walk with your partner, maybe every day or every 2 days in the morning for 15 minutes? It will even kindle the love if you decide to do the walk together. So these are some of the things that we may have to consider to bring the love at home, and then also have a special a prioritized plan.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much. Remember, Prof just finished everything with us, but we are not done. We want to go for a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we continue. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Every individual has a story. Stories of social issues such as infertility.
You did not marry your wife only because she's going to give you a child. You married because you loved her. Whatever comes on your plate, you're ready to accept that.
abuse, obesity, life struggles, and others can be very frustrating. That is why Real Talk is back again with another exciting season where individuals like you can come into our studio or join us virtually to share your story and experience. To share your story, you can reach us through our WhatsApp number at 0559 680 066, or you can email us at hoptvghana@gmail.com. We say don't lock them away. If you ignore them, they can just get angrier and louder.
Hello, thank you very much for staying tuned. You are still watching Love at Home. Thank you very much. And we are discussing planning and setting objectives for the year. And then I would want to come to Pastor. Pastor, as Christians, is it really important that we plan? What is the God factor in this? I am asking this because some Christians are of the opinion that don't think of what you eat tomorrow. Everything will be sorted out by your Savior. Is that the case? Or we should still plan and work towards it?
Thank you. I think we must be very certain that right from creation, when God created Adam, he placed him in the garden and asked him to till the ground. He was expected to work. He wasn't, God didn't create Adam to just lie down in the garden. After all, there are fruits and everything there. Get up, eat, and sleep. But he was expected to work right from that. And so the aspect of working is part of man's responsibility. When we work, it strengthens us. It provides means for sustenance, and it's also puts us, it puts power in our hands, and so work cannot be put aside because of faith. Now, where we get the whole thing wrong is in Matthew 6. Jesus was talking about worrying. Do not worry about, because no amount of worry can provide. But as a Christian, believe that your Father, where your strength cannot go, God, your Father, will take charge. Because he loves you. But you have a part to play as a creature, as a steward. There is a role you have to play, and you must play your part effectively. And as you play your part, you commit everything to God's hands, and he will implement whatever you set for yourself.
Pastor has said it all. So those people saying that God will provide, so you don't need to probably work or put any stress on yourself, stress in quotes. Please be careful. Pastor has advised us. Now, let me come to you, Prof. I want you to give me a typical step. If I have a wife, or I am a wife, I talk too much. I know my husband dislikes that. And this year is my objective, that this time I'll talk less. I'll obey my husband. What do you think will be some of the strategies or objectives for me to put in place to be able to achieve this?
Okay, thank you. Behavioral change is something that is very difficult. It cannot just happen all of a sudden. It may have to be gradual. So if your aim for 2023 as a wife is to have a behavioral change, as Pastor mentioned, there should be that kind of communication between the wife and the husband. for us men, sometimes we want to be the silent one in the marriage, and then we want the woman to be the talkative. So if it's turning around that now, you also want to be silent, the house will not be so fun. Unless maybe the husband is also hoping that in 2023 he wants to be more of a talkative person. So the process starts with communication. You have to have that discussion with your partner or your husband, what you intend to do. If your partner needs to give you some form of support or to understand you, that if you behave a certain way, it is because of your set objective. It will bring happiness in the home. This is very, very important. Your next plan or step in the planning process is putting what you have written down or what you have in your mind, putting it into action. You may have to have a conscious effort, may have to do a conscious effort to implement what you have set your objectives on. So if you say you don't want to be a talkative, you may have to remind yourself in the form of review, daily, weekly, that in 2023, I don't want to be the nagging wife. What can I do? So it must be something that as you implement, it becomes part of you. If you are the husband who wants to now open up your finances to your wife, you want to open up in terms of communication with your wife, you may have to put it into action. So that is the second step. The third step is a review process. We have already mentioned that things may happen in the plan which may require you to review.
Yeah.
Probably you look at the strategy that you are using in achieving your set objective, whether it is affecting your other partner, maybe your wife or husband. Do you need to probably make a change? In the planning process, sometimes it's also better to ask your partner, my dear, am I doing something that you think that I need to improve? Maybe with the food, maybe there are too much salt, maybe you have to reduce the salt in the food. That kind of communication is very, very important in that process. So we've mentioned that you communicate, you take action, you review the plan, because we've mentioned that situations may change. If it's even a financial plan, the same process is important. I've mentioned that you also, in the form of review, you must also consult or seek opinion from others in a way to help you to better your life or make the family become very probably attractive. There's happiness in the home, so that love that we are talking about will be there. If it's become a family that we don't review our activities or our actions, probably it's not good. In the form of review is feedback.
Yeah.
Feedback, probably, if you've noticed, men, sometimes when our wives say something, we hardly take it because we think that maybe the feedback is not coming in a positive direction. But I've learned to know that if I take the feedback of my wife, I better my life. So
well done. Well done.
I will submit myself. Sometimes too, I become stubborn when she says that, then I'll start to find reasonable means to defend myself.
Yes.
Then when I go into my caucus, then I will tell myself, oh, what you're saying is true. I will not admit. So, but that's the kind of feedback we want. And I have learned that giving feedback must be said with love.
Of course.
So sometimes the way we will communicate the feedback in a planning to make the change, it becomes, it makes the other partner feels very bad.
Yeah.
So as going back to communication, you may have to, in a planning process, the feedback given must be said in love. And then finally, you may, if you're a prayerful person, you may add that one to it so that you know that you have sealed your plan. The review process, as I've mentioned, it can be daily, every minute, every hour, every year, because so many things are changing in our lives daily.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Now, Pastor, in this whole issue of planning and setting objectives for the family, where do we place the children? We've been talking, and looks like we are looking at the husband and then the wife. Where do we place the children? Well, should they be parts?
They are integral part of the planning, because, for instance, the children must know what can be provided and what we may not be able to provide. And so it is not initially, perhaps when the children are not in the family, the two of you, but as they start growing up and they become more mature to be
to understand
issues, it is important to get them involved, because sometimes, being a child, they may have some
fantasies
in mind, but you need to help them to come to realities that are on the ground.
But my issue is, how do we do it so that the children will not feel as if now my parents don't care so much, they don't want to provide certain things for me? How do we go about this?
You see, it is very important to bring the children in, especially because of the impact it will have on them.
Okay.
And when they compare themselves with their friends. When perhaps my child will want to have a laptop because there is a friend coming to school with a laptop. So, yeah, even though it's in the primary or JHS, he thinks he needs a laptop. It's nice.
Yeah.
But I need to let the child understand that this, as a family, we may not be able to provide this at this particular time. What we can, for instance, I have a laptop, I will put some programs on it. When you come home, we share. But you can't take this laptop to school. I let them understand that even the dangers of being stolen and other things. So you must let the children know what the family can afford now, and at least, if possible, promise what can be done in future when things get better. Okay. And so that they may not have that ill feeling that you don't love them, or some parents are more caring than you
his
are.
or his.
But you must make them know who you are, why you can do this and you cannot do that, and help them to appreciate and accept whatever you can provide.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, Prof, I want to come to you again. Yes, please come in. Please come in. Yes, come in.
With our children involving in planning, this is very, very important. So you see that in most homes, probably the children will even dictate what we will eat. So it is advisable that as we plan the menu for the week, for the month, you consult them. If not, especially when they are within the ages of 1 to say 6 to 7 years, they become very troublesome. So you get them involved. Even the clothes they will wear, you may have to find a kind of negotiations with them. The current generation of children, Generation Z, I don't know what kind of medicine they normally give to the mothers that goes into their brain, but they are smarter than us. So if you really want your family to have an understanding and appreciate the input of the child, there are some things that you need to bring them to speed in terms of your planning, so that it will really help. And it will give you a guidance in how you even manage your funds, because there are some things you need to explain to your child that because of our financial plan for probably 2023, we cannot be able to afford A, B, C, D for you, but we'll be able to do it maybe next time.
Okay.
And these are some of the things that probably we need to also get our kids to be involved in the planning. We once a family, even not as a family meeting, in terms of our discussion in the home, we may be able to get them to give in their input in the planning process.
Thank you, thank you. Now, Pastor, if I am an abusive husband or wife, the least thing I'm stretching my hand. I want to put a stop to it in 2023. What are some practical steps you can give me?
Well, it's as Prof said, changing of behavior doesn't come overnight.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah.
But again, there must be some conscious effort and prayer.
Okay.
You know, because for a man to be abusive, and to some extent, you realize that it has developed in him over a time. Perhaps even you as a wife, you have also contributed in making it to stratify in him. And therefore, you must also help in helping him to get over it. It may not come easily, but with prayer and determination that no, this is wrong, I shouldn't be doing that. Whatever you also have been doing, that perhaps
has been contributing to that behavior,
you must also decide to put a stop to it. And by that, you can help him to develop more love for you and see that it is not the abusive, perhaps it might even be that from his childhood, this thing has been inculcated in him, and it has become part of him. Perhaps he's gone through some difficulties, or he sees that as a way of escape somehow. So there is that need to join hands with him, and whatever can be done with time and prayers, I believe there could be a change. You see, because abusive behavior many times enter into a cycle, and it's very difficult to break that cycle. You know, he abuses you, then he comes to, oh, I'm sorry, you made me do it, and I don't. And so then he comes and pacifies, and then you accept it. Then as you keep going, then you all of a sudden behave in your normal way, and then he gets offended, and so there must be some conscious and consistent effort
to break it.
God, in addition to prayer, and I believe that it is possible.
So in all this, communication is key.
It's key.
Yeah, Prof, I know you want to add something to this. And please be wrapping up with this comment for me.
So I'll say that as we have begun 2023, if we want to see a betterment in our lives, as we commit ourselves to God, we must also commit our plans to God. Whatever we have it in our mind, whether it's informal or what is written down well, we must commit it in the hands of God. If the plan requires you to seek expert advice, and you seek it. If it's a behavioral change, you have to make the discussion with your partner and then focus in a way that you achieve it. And don't be too bothered if midstream you have to abandon some plans and focus on another one, because we have agreed that our plans are not static. They can change at every time, but the process we go through in changing it should see a betterment of our lives, not to worsen our lives.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Pastor, please, your last word. My time is up.
All right. We can say that as we live, we must always have something ahead of us, something we're looking forward for individually and collectively as a family. The ultimate plan of every Christian is to make it into the kingdom. Yes. But whilst we are still here, it is important that we also see how the future will be. If tomorrow, by God's grace, I'm alive, what can I do to help make my family a happier family? And by this, we must, sometimes it's difficult putting a plan into effect, implementing a plan because of the challenges when you don't discipline yourself so much. But don't give up easily, because when there is a plan, it's a guide. Yes. And it helps you to be able to put some improvement in your life. Because as we say, life shouldn't also be static. There must be growth. Yeah. There must be development. Yeah. Each time we must, by the grace of God, as the song goes, plan to be on a higher ground.
That's good. That's good. Thank you very much, Pastor. My lovely viewer, my time is up. I'm surprised my time is up. But let me remind you that Proverbs 16 verse 3 says that commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. Amen. On this note, I want to wish you well and let you know that commit your ways, and once God is with you, he will surely sail you through. I've been having this discussion with Professor Williams K. Pepra, School of Business Administration at the Andrews University, USA, and my father and my all, Pastor Neil Lamte Thompson, Ministerial and Family Ministry Director of the Southern Ghana Union Conference. I am your host, Efia Sewamansa, and we discussed planning and setting objectives. Until same time next week, continue discussing this at home. Love at home must prevail. Thank you and good night. Bye-bye.
Every individual has a story. Stories of social issues such as infertility.
You did not marry your wife only because she's going to give you a child. You married because you loved her. Whatever comes on your plate, you're ready to accept that.
Abuse, obesity, life struggles, and others can be very frustrating. That is why Real Talk is back again with another exciting season where individuals like you can come into our studio or join us virtually to share your story and experience. To share your story, you can reach us through our WhatsApp number at 0559 680